Right.
Hi. Mimi Yomnik and Nima Glasser said that they are going to join.
Okay. Great. I wanted to mention to you that this week the girls in the 8th grade asked me why, one of the 8th grades, why they can't have friends who are boys, and I gave them an answer. I told them that the problem is that the boys are not interested. That they might be able to have boys who are friends, but the boys are not able to have friends who are girls because boys do not look at girls as friends, but rather as something else altogether. And then I went into an explanation of how that was. And then I spoke about also what my wife once told me, that it's usually the girls who have low self-esteem that they will have boyfriends because that's how they validate themselves. And I asked the girls afterwards why they don't ask their moros these questions. And they said that they can't ask their moros these questions, either because their moros do not answer questions, or because they regard them as immature for having asked these questions. So I hope that when you got to high school, you found moros with whom you're able to ask such questions, because I found that to be pretty depressing. Okay, that was my comment on this past week. Now let me find the Siddur to share here. Hold on. Page. Second. Okay. Okay, so we're in this. We got into the first paragraph of HaMeir La'Aretz, and Baruch illuminates every day fresh, and Marabu Masech Hashem Kulam L'Chachma Asisa. Everything Baruch did with Chachma, obviously, but the world is full of Hashem's Kinyanim. We spoke last week about what that means. He's uplifted before the world was created, but now the world is created. He's praised after the world is created. Rahman is upon us. But he gives us strength, and he is the rock in which we can trust. Mageni Sheinu, he's God Badenu. He protects our salvation, and he is again a fortress for us. And this is where we got up to last week. So Kel Baruch Gedol Deah. So here he says that the Achri Shalom. He says Gedol Deah. He's Yachasus Hamoros. The Torah Gedol Deah. Right. We're talking now. The theme of this bracha, or what's being about, is the sun and the moon and the stars. So what does that have to do with Gedol Deah? Yitachem apidi Isa Bazor Kadosh. The Asokim Shneim Rosa Gedolim. Because Baruch made the two great luminaries. Because Mesa, B'Chabur Chada. They're both made in the same group. Those identical. Raza Da, Shma Shalim, Chada Havaya Lukim. And the secret of this is that having a name which is perfect, which is the name Yud Kei Vav Kei and Elokim. So initially, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the Oros in a way which was they complemented each other, and evidently they were both equal in their responsibility or in their stature, whatever that means. So that was the shlemus of the name Havaya Luki. Visa bebrachos gedola deus nida ben shtei osios. Shneimar kikel de os Hashem. So it says that Hashem, Kel, is the master of Deos, right? Hashem. So between Dea is given between the name Kel and the name Yud Ke Vav Ke. So Zel Godol Dea begadlus Dea Anita Mishtei Shtemos. Dea is great because it's given between two names of Hashem. With this power, he went and he prepared the radiance of the sun. The Gambrias HaMe'oros Selah because also the creation of the luminaries was two names. So that's beautiful, but it doesn't. What he says here itself needs explanation. So let me try and explain a little bit. The way he's trying to say it is that the sun represents the name Yud Ke Vav Ke. Yud Ke Vav Ke is the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which doesn't ever change. We don't always perceive it. It's not always apparent to us, but it's always Hashem is always being sustaining the world with Chesed and with Rachamim. So that's the name Yud Ke Vav Ke. Now the name which should have been complete, but it's not complete, is the name Elokim, and the name Elokim represents to us HaKadosh Baruch Hu's relationship with the world in a way in which we can normally see. Normally, we function under the name Elokim, but occasionally, very rarely, we can see the name Havaya, but where the tremendous revelations take place. But normally, Havaya is filtered through Elokim, right? And that's why Elokim represents lots of kochos, but Hashem is Baal Kochos Kulam, because the way we see things in this world, we see different kochos, and Hashem is in charge of them. We don't see how they're all unified and how they connect and drive together and perform in synchrony with how called Ratzon Hashem. So we're saying Kikel Deos Hashem. The way the Zohar seems to be learning it is that the name Elokim is not complete. It's only Aleph Lamed. Why is that? Because the moon was diminished in size. The moon was supposed to have been the same size as the sun. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean the moon is going to have its own light. It still might have gotten its light from the sun, but reflected light, because the light of the sun reflects off the moon. But the point is that if the moon had been the size that it should have been, that symbolizes, it's parallel to the name Elokim being understood by us, at least being able to see how Hashem functions through all the kochos in the world. But Hashem said, no, that's not going to happen. And this is Hashem diminished the moon to symbolize that it's not going to be revealed in this world. All those things, all those kochos, how all the kochos relate to Hashem. Obviously, that's in order to give us bechira. Obviously, that's in order to give us something to work on, something to perfect. And it's very similar to what we say about Amalek. We say that it says case instead of kisei and ka instead of yud ke vav ke. That Hashem shalom bein kisei shalom ad shemachas zar shalom Amalek. The name of God and the throne of God are not complete until Amalek is destroyed. So too, the name Havaya is always the same, but the name Elokim, that we can perceive how Hashem is Baal Kochos Kulam, how he's the master of all forces, that we can't see in this world in our imperfect states. And we know that Elokim and Gematria is Hateva, nature, because we're supposed to be able to perceive Hashem in nature. But it's not easy to do, because again, we don't see it as revealed as it would have been had there not been a Chet Adam Rishon, had it not been a Chet Ego, had our perception been on the level of the perception which it could have been. But there's another thing which he doesn't bring down here, which is that it says that Gadol Deus Shitem Osios, and the reason why we make the bracha have Havdalah, Atochan and Tanu, in the bracha Batochan and Das, is because im ein Dea Havdalah Minayin. If you don't have knowledge, wisdom, then how are you going to be able to distinguish between things? So therefore, Dea is associated with being able to distinguish. So the HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the most basic distinction, which is distinction between night and day, right? But we say in Amavdil, in Or Choshech Ben Yisrael, the first Havdalah is between light and darkness. So Dea is an awareness, an understanding, a capacity to understand which Hashem imparted to us, the difference between night and day, the difference between right and wrong, the difference between darkness and light. So that is Kel Baruch, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the all-powerful, who's Baruch. Now, the thing is that the name Kel sometimes is the name in itself, but it seems that the Zohar Kodesh is saying in this context, it's a part of the name Elohim. The name Kel in and of itself just means strength, but it's also a part of Elohim, and it's only we only perceive part of the strength, not all of the strength. So the word Kel at the beginning of the sequence of the Aleph base here, I think means just the source of all strength. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu bestowed a bracha from that source of all strength on us. And that is the initial way he did it is by Gedol De'ah, by the greatness of distinguishing between Or and Choshech, and between the specific lights which are relevant to Or and Choshech, the sun and the moon, that they should not be in Olam Hazeh where there's no tikkun, the same size. In order that there should be Bechira, in order there should be a tikkun which we're going to make in this world, in order for all those things to happen, it's there's the Havdalah, there's distinction. There's light, night and day, light and darkness, good and evil, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is Gedol De'ah. Hashem created things which are distinct. So we should be able to distinguish between the right and the wrong, the good and the bad, the light and the dark. Also to digress for a moment, I don't know if in your schools they've spoken about this, but about the war in Ukraine and Russia's war against Ukraine, and the perspective I stress is that there are certain people who say that the Ukrainians deserve what they get because many Ukrainians collaborated in the Holocaust, and there was of course in Tachvatat 1648, 1649, there was the great slaughter of Jews, Khmelnytsky, Bogdan Khmelnytsky, who is still a hero in Ukraine today. His statue is in the middle of Kiev. So people say, you know what, the Ukrainians are getting what they deserve. So that is, to me, in my opinion, that is Choshech, not Or, that perspective. If there is a concept of Nekama, and situations Chazal say that Nekama is also given between two names of Hashem. Kel Nekamos Hashem, the same two names, right? Here it says Kel Deos Hashem and Kel Nekamos Hashem. Brings the link between the two of them. And the idea is that only HaKadosh Baruch Hu can tell you when it's good to take Nekama. If Hashem doesn't tell you it's good to take Nekama, then you have to assume that Nekama is not the right thing to do. And if HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends a Navi, like with Shaul, he sent Shmuel to tell him to eradicate Amalek, then that Nekama is appropriate. But there is time, but other times we're not supposed to look for Nekama. And on the contrary, we have to assume that since the people today are not the same people which were alive 80 years ago, when the last time the Ukrainians were nasty to us, and even then, in Yad Vashem, the 2,500 Hasidic Moshe Olam from Ukraine. So then it's the appropriate response is Yisrael Rachmanim by Shonim Begomli Chasadim. Jews are merciful, they are easily embarrassed, and they are kind. So if a person sees people who are oppressed and killed and tortured and slaughtered and doesn't have Rachmanis on them, there's, in my opinion, something lacking in the midos of Avraham Avinu. The person doesn't have those midos of Rachmanim by Shonim Gomli Chasadim. So it's interesting, this connection. Kel Deos Hashem, Kel Nekamos Hashem. You have to have a very special sense of Havdalah to know what's right and what's wrong in order to be able to take Nekama. And for most of us, we don't have that capacity because everything to us is gray. There's no real black and white in this world. unless you have a halacha or a chacham or a navi tells you something. Otherwise, you have to refrain from taking the kama, unless you have to refrain from regarding things in the kama. And you certainly shouldn't rejoice at the kama unless HaKadosh Baruch Hu send you a sign to do so. Okay, so that's though they are. Again, it's, as I said, it's an interesting relationship to the kama. And then the next line says, he prepared and activated the rays of the sun. You know, I don't even know if in my entire life I thought for a second about that translation. I'm sure not. Hechin, he prepared ufa'al and activated. Zarei chama, the rays of the sun. Now, of course, you could say, okay, the author of the tefillah had a hein above, so he had to come up with something. You know, we couldn't just say hechin zarei chama because they didn't miss the above. But let's assume that he had other ways of dealing with it. So he says, Hechin ufa'al zarei chama. So it seems like Chazal say, the or was created on a Wednesday, Yom Revi, and the first 4 days, the or was the or of Sheish Me'Brachos, which is an altogether different or. So Kosh Baruch Hu prepared, because everything was created on the first day, at least in concept. Kosh Baruch Hu prepared, and only later activated Zarei Chama, the rays of the sun. On the 4th day, the rays of the sun were activated. So actually, there was Havdalah between Or and Choshech Deah before that, since Sunday. But the Zarei Chama, the radiant rays of the sun, those are only available on Wednesday, the 4th day of creation. Okay, so Dover Shalom says, let's see if that he says, the first Avodah Zarah, as we know, happened in the generation of Enosh, was one of the great grandchildren of Adam Rishon. And it's the Rambam in the famous passage, Nichos Avodah Zarah says, and the way Avodah Zarah started was that the people say, you know what, we worship Hashem. But logic dictates to worship Hashem, we should also worship Hashem's intermediaries, the so to speak, officers by which Kosh Baruch Hu runs the world. Just like when you worship a king, you also you serve a king, you also serve his officials, his noblemen, his generals, and so on and so forth. And eventually they forgot about HaKadosh Baruch Hu and just kept on worshiping the intermediaries, the sun and the moon and so on and so forth, and all other forces, forgetting that they were only initially thought to worship them as an extension of Hashem. They focused on these extensions and forgot about Hashem. So he says, then in the Dor Enosh, they made these Moros Elohus. They made these luminaries in the sun and the moon and the stars into divinities. Amar Kosh Baruch Hu Hashem said, Uma im b'shoshem shnayim. When they are two of them, sun and the moon, they machishin zeh and they contradict each other, because when there's a sun, there's no moon. When there's a moon, there's no sun. Osim osor lohus, they make the sun and the moon divinities. If there's only one luminary, only the sun, only the moon, so they certainly would make it Avodah Zarah. If now, when it makes less sense to make Avodah Zarah, because it doesn't seem that there's any it doesn't seem that the sun is all powerful, doesn't seem like the moon is all powerful, yet nevertheless they worship both, or they worship either one. So certainly if there was one, it'd be even bigger. So he prepared and activated the rays of the sun, but since he was afraid, so to speak, that they're going to make the sun into a divinity, he created, it's good that he created honor for his name. That they should recognize the honor of his name. That he created, and not that the sun is a divinity. Okay? And that's why he created multiple luminaries, so they should contradict each other. So uh, let's go into the back into the text. Initially, Hashem prepared the sun, but then then, so to speak, he realized if it's just the sun, people are going to come to worship the sun, which many did anyway. So therefore, he wanted to make something. Wanted to make sure the sun was not regarded as all powerful. So therefore, Tov, it's good. They they created glory for his name only, but how? By moros nasansloso, by making many luminaries. So all the power is diffused. And therefore, people should realize there is the moros themselves have no power. It's only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's positive. It's a nice shot. But I don't think that's a simple shot in what we're saying here, what the Dover Shalom is saying. But rather, everything comes from the sun. The rays of the sun, right? Because even the moon's light comes from the rays of the sun. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu prepared from the first day creation and later activated the radiance of the sun, the rays of the sun, because the rays of the sun are the basis of all light energy in this world, right? Because even the moon, it's reflected light of the sun. Okay, so that's why I think the pshat is we have the moon, the sun's rays, which provide the light and energy. Okay. Now, Tov Yatzar Kavod Lishmo. There are many years ago, one of my rabbis said to us, he said, you can read this line in two different ways. Now the way the Dover Shalom reads it, it's a third way. He's saying it's good that Hashem created it this way. But there are two other ways of reading it, which are Tov, Hashem, who's called Tov, Yotzar created the world, Kavod Lishmo, give honor to his name. The other way of learning it is Tov Yotzar, Hashem created good. The world he created is good. Kavod Lishmo, therefore give honor to his name. So the word Tov can be understood as referring to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem's name, Tov Yotzar, Hashem created. The word Tov could refer to what Hashem created, the Bria. Tov Yotzar, he created good. Okay, and either way, right? Kavod Lishmo wants to give honor to his name. So this is a classic example of a line and feeling which can go either way. And again, according to the Rosh Hashanah, it's a third way. It's a good thing that he created two Ma'oros in order that there should be less of a possibility of Avodah Zarah. So I think the extremely high number of tefillos are made this way that for different people at different times you can have different kavanos, and the tefillos are very flexible that way. You can actually put you don't have to use one kavana all the time. If one kavana works for you one time, and another kavana works for you another time, go ahead, change the kavanas. On the contrary, it's meant to be that way. That kavana should be flexible. Okay, so this is Tov. Either one works, right? Because Baruch Hu's Tov, that's not for the Shmo, or because Baruch Hu created this goodness and therefore give honor to his name. This is so if you take a look in Eitz Yosef, it says Hashem Hodu Hashem Ki Tov. Baruch Hu Nikra Tov. Right, the way he's learning it is Tov Hashem created. Let's see if the Yom Philo says sorry about it. Kel Tov. So he's saying, yeah, it's all saying it's a description of a Kodesh Baruch Hu, God. But again, you learn it the other way as well. That Tov Yotzar is that he created good. Okay, so therefore, well, in essence, the world is good, and we say to my gracious, but Yalakim as Asher Slavine Kitovu, right? So their Tov is clearly not going on Hashem; it's going on the things He created. So that's again the basis of the second shot. The Tov is going what He created. So if it's talking about Hashem, it's talking about the things He created. My gracious, that they're called V'Yalakim Kitov. Hashem, so it's good. So regardless, either way, we give honor to HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name that he made that he is great, good, and he made such a good world. And the truth is that Tov is the very essence of the Bria, right? That HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the Bria for the purpose of being Meitiv. Hashem is Tov and he's Meitiv L'Kol. And we're supposed to emulate HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And we're also supposed to be Tov U'Meitiv. So therefore, really, Tov is the basis of the entire Bria. Ma'os Nasan Tzivosiso. And he put these luminaries around his strength. That's a very interesting concept. What does it mean, Ma'os Nasan Tzivosiso? So I think that the idea is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu cannot be perceived by us. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us put a barrier, so to speak, between us and him. And the Ma'oros, they're like blockages. So we don't see the great aura of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the aura that existed from Sunday of creation to Wednesday of creation. He blocked that out. Ma'oros Nasan Tzivosiso, who put these luminaries, the sun, the moon, stars, around his power, around his strength, in order to conceal it, because he said this type of light is not going to allow Olam Hazeh to exist. Want Olam Hazeh to exist with a Bechir Chavshis and with Tzadikim and Rishoyim, my light is going to be concealed. I'm going to put these lights around me, these luminaries, which are going to be around my Oz, and then my Oz itself will not be revealed. My core strength, that's going to not going to reveal this world. Okay, Pinos of Kedoshim Romei Shakai. Now, this Pinos is a language here which refers to Malachim, as it says here, Peir Soret Tzavaov. Okay, I'm not sure. Let's see if he explains here. Says Pinos of Kedoshim Kol Machlaka Min Ha'am, any division part of the nation, Haponel Matar Miuchedes, which is directly to a certain purpose. He creates Pinas Am. It's called the corner of the nation. So Pina, in this case, comes from Poneh, to turn towards. Zeu Be'er Nachon Shel Vayisiatzu Pinos Kol Am. Pasuk Shoftim that or Shu Alom Kol Pinos Am. All the divisions of the nation who all turn in a certain way. Machlokas Ha'am is Pinos Peir Sarim, Milashon Gosh Shalom Kol Pinos Ha'am. And he says that the division which we're talking about here in the Pinos Tva'av, we're talking about the people, the division of Malachim. Right, Pinos Svav are the Tzava Hashem. We're talking about the Tzava Hashem and Shamayim. So Pinos Svav means the either the division or the leaders of Hashem's angelic host. Kedoshim, they're holy. They are holy. Holy has two basic and complementary meanings. Kadosh means separate, and also means directed. Just kadosh means that something is hekdesh is separate from everything else. It's separated from chol. Kodesh is separated from chol, and also kodesh has a designation, has a purpose. Kodesh LaHashem, so it's designated for a certain purpose. So the malachim are called kadoshim, and Am Yisrael is also called kadoshim. Why? Because we both have a very, very specific purpose for which we're set aside and separated, right? That's what we say, ben kodesh chol ben Yisrael la'amim, right? There's this separation between kodesh l'chol and a separation between Yisrael la'amim. We're separated and we're designated. Just like kodesh is designated, we're also designated. But normally we understand here in the context over here of this tefillah that we're not talking about Am Yisrael. And when we say in davening in Shmoneh Esrei, Atok Kadosh Shimcha Kadosh, U'Kadoshim Chayom Yefo'arucha Selah, there there's a big question. Do Kedoshim there refer to the Malachim, like over here in this tefillah, or Kedoshim over there refer to Am Yisrael? I think it refers to Am Yisrael. We get to talk Kadosh, we can discuss that. But again, either way, either kavanah you have is fine. I happen to prefer the kavanah that Kedoshim HaMeir La'Aretz over there in Shmoneh Esrei refers to Am Yisrael. But here, Pinosva Kedoshim, it sounds like we're talking about the ones who are his holy heavenly force, because later we're going to talk about what exactly they say in the next paragraph. Therefore, it seems to refer specifically to Malachim here. Ramei Shaddai. So they uplift HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In other words, the Malachim say the praises of HaKadosh Baruch Hu all the time. Tamid Mesaprim Kol Kedusha, right? They always tell over the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His holiness. So because we live in Olam Hazeh, so we can't always be expressly or actively being Romeim Hashem. But the Malachim, they're constantly being Romeim Hashem. They're uplifting Him always, right? That's although in the Eitz Yosef he says Romei Shaddai Erev Avokim, because it says Malachim say Kedusha and we say Kedusha, and Kedusha is Shacharis and Mincha, right? So therefore, he's arguing that even the Tamid here doesn't mean all the time. It means constantly and consistently, but not all the time. But that I don't think that makes difference for our purposes. The main thing is that that they are constantly uplifting Hashem. And in fact, the Tikkun Tefillah here says a fascinating thing, which I never saw before. Again, you think I'm teaching this because I want to teach you. I'm teaching this because I want to learn myself. So it says here, Romei Shaddai Tamid. We always say, Pirotzav Kedoshim. Oops, I'm back to far. Pirotzav Kedoshim Romei Shaddai Tamid Mesaprim Kol Kedusha, and that's where the dot is, right? Those dots are misleading. Nobody knows to put those dots there. Who says they're right? And the Yom Tefillah wants to say that no, it's supposed to be Romei Shaddai Tamid Mesaprim Kol Kedusha, which makes sense, right? They're constantly Romei Shaddai Tamid constantly Mesaprim Kol Kedusha. But I think it makes that much of a difference. But it's interesting that he does say that the word Tamid has to be connected to the word to Romei Shaddai. Okay, so now Tamim Sapri. By the way, there's another reason I wasn't even thinking. The word Tamid has to be connected to Romei Shaddai because it's the last letter of the Aleph base, right? Romei Shaddai Tamid. That's the end of the Aleph base. So that's the end of the sequence. You want to link it to the sequence. Therefore, it's part and parcel of the sentence before. Like that. Okay, so Mesaprim Kol Kedusha. So they always tell over the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His Kedusha, his honor and his devotion to his Bria. Tizbarach Hashem, and we sum up this first paragraph, although it's really only the first paragraph. In most minhagim, the Chazan does not say the last sentence in this paragraph out loud because it runs into the next paragraph. The Chabad they do, but in most minhagim do not say this last sentence out loud. They just run in. But this is a summary of what went on till now. It is. Tizbarach Hashem Shevach Maaseh Yodecha. Because Baruch Hu, you should get a bracha, meaning you should constantly increase. We should be a source of bracha. Al Shevach Maaseh Yodecha, because we have praised your handiwork, right? So the V'amoresha Sisa, and on the luminaries that you made, Yefo'arucha Selah, people give you glory forever. So the Shevach is the praise which you're going to call Kodesh Baruch Hu in the past, right? Al Shevach Maaseh Yodecha. Yefo'arucha, there's going to be even more glory, Tiferes, which is much higher than Shevach. I assume it means that ultimately, when the light of Shesem will be revealed, then that's going to be it's going to be a Tiferes. It's even going to be more glorious. he has along he has a slightly different explaining here, but explanation, but he does say HaMeir La'Aretz, saying Pe'er is great bracha, human saying some before it indicates that which is splendid, but also Simani Mubakim with obvious signs and indications, which arouse astonishment in the heart. The heart of anybody who sees them. It's above and beyond any bracha. So again, Shevach is something which I praise, but it's not necessarily revealed in all its glory. As he's saying, and we could say another pshat here. Sheva, I say that what you, everything work is of course a Shevach. It's worthy of incredible praise. But the greatest glory is More or Shosis. Because obviously, again, as we said, the sun, and by extension, the other Ma'oros, they all have, they are the Pe'er, they are the glory of the Bria and how they provide us with all the light and energy. Okay, I think we'll stop here for today because it's the end of the paragraph and continue on next to this Baruch Serena.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good night.